Hi, welcome to class. This is Chef Toni Dickinson. We're going to be continuing with sugar paste flowers, and today we're going to make sweet peas. Sweet peas are one of my favorite flowers. They're fun, they're easy, and they come in a variety of colors. So when you need a filler flower, you need something to offset with, you can use a sweet pea, and they're quick, and they're cute, and they're playful. I love them. So what we're going to start off with, as usual, is our sugar paste. So the cutters we're going to need for this, though, are only two, okay? And one looks like, I say one looks like a lung here, and I'm not sure, maybe a bubble, like you would in a cartoon or something of that sort. But these are the two cutters. This is where the stem is going to go. It's going to be down here by the stem, like that, okay? So we're going to need these two cutters. And I also brought another cutter. This is from a company that makes a whole set of cutters, and I purchased it as a package, and I'm using it because I want you to see that you don't have to buy everything in metal. Some things that come in plastic you can use often, and they're very, to pay for this you get a whole package of them, and for some of the cutters that are like this it would probably cost about as much to purchase. Say when we did the orchids, those orchid cutters would probably equal the amount it would be to buy the whole package of the plastic cutters. But they're good because they have circles, they have all the other cutters you need, but they come in handy because they have little small pieces that don't always come with other cutter sets. And they're little finishing things. This is going to be the end or the bottom of our sweet pea. So if you don't have this, you buy a sweet pea, it doesn't come with the cutter. With this cutter, it only comes with these two. So having had this other set, it supplements. You just might want to think about it, okay? So here we're going to start off as usual. We're going to massage our paste, okay? And for this, we have to make a center, and it's kind of fun. So we're going to take a piece, about that big, maybe even a little less. I guess that's the size of a kidney bean or bean. And I'm going to take it, roll it. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. And then I'm going to begin to taper it off. I can already see that this is a little larger than I want, so I'm going to pinch that off just a little bit more. Remember, put your sugar paste underneath your moist towel. Keep it moist and supple. Right there. And then I'm going to just shape it slightly. So it has like a teardrop shape. Okay, there are different ways. Different people have different ways of making their centers for their sweet peas. Some people like them very, very tight. Mine's a little bit more stylized. I like it, but if you look at sweet peas themselves, they have more of this shape. And sweet peas come in many varieties. So you're never going to see one sweet pea that looks like one thing, as with anything, any rose or any flower. So right there, I've already made my bishop's hook or my shepherd's hook for this. A little bit of glue, put on some and remove it, and I'm going to put it right inside, hook it from there and go in, and then pull it back. Squeeze it just a little bit around the base to make sure it adheres, and taper it. And then I'm going to take a knife or any straight instrument, and I'm going to put a line right down the middle of it. And you can press it fairly deep. taper the ends, and now I'm going to let it hang up and dry. And you need to do that overnight. So for all of your sweet peas to start, you have to start them the day ahead. So if you're really going to be doing this for your wedding cakes, it's great to just have one day for one intern or one very helpful friend or husband, child, whoever, and put together all of your centers. And then have a collection of them and put them in the colors you want. That way when you go to make your flowers, you don't have to start from this point. You already have it together, you just pick up the centers, and now you continue on with the flowers. So I'm just doing this with one other color, blue, so you can see. There are not that very many true blue flowers, so the sweet pea has a nice blue one. Even petunias, if you look at petunias, are more purple. The cone flower is a very blue flower, but there are not that many true blue flowers. And the sweet pea has one. So again, a ball, a little teardrop, my wire, glue on, glue off, take my hook, put it in the bottom, press it in as far center as I can, taper down my edge, and then take a knife and give it a little bit of an impression from one tip all the way to the other. And it has that beautiful little cap shape to it. And now I'm going to put it to dry. So I'll let that hang overnight, and once they're dry, then we'll continue to go on with the next stage. So I'm going to show you also a second sweet pea center. Sometimes you can do it this way as well. You don't necessarily have to put an indentation as we did on the first one. You can just change it up a little bit. This is how some people may do it. Again, for everything, we always have to have our hook there. I'm going to put a little glue. And on this one, instead of putting an impression, I'm actually going to create a ridge. So I'm going to take my hands, put a little bit of cornstarch on so that I don't stick, and right from the tip to the base, I'm going to take my fingers and press it just a little over the top. And there you have another way to make your sweet pea center. With the others, I'm just going to hang it up and let it dry. Now we're going to let that dry overnight. We're ready to make our petals tomorrow. So now we're ready to finish off our sweet pea. Take our paste, soften it up. We're going to roll it out. And we're going to start off with what I call the cutters that sort of look like more like a lung. I'm going to cut those, and I'll cut as many as I need for all of my sweet peas. And I have enough here. I'm going to cut the second petal that goes on the outside. I'm going to do that for both the purple and the blue. Now I'm going to take that first petal I cut. I'm back on my soft foam board, clean tools, a little bit of cornstarch, make sure that it doesn't stick. And now I'm going to soften my ends. Half on, half off. I can extend that base just a little bit. And some things you're going to learn as you do your flowers that make it a little bit easier. I have just found that by extending that, it kind of makes it easier for me to pinch it around. And right here, give it a little bit of ruffling as we've done to other flowers. So it has a little motion. You can pick whichever tool you want, but because it's a small tool, I like to use the smaller ball tool. Now I'm going to make sure that I removed any excess dust or powder. And this is a small flower, so you can use a regular veiner, but they sometimes have too large a vein. So there's another veiner, and it comes in a stick form. And you can see right here that it has all of these ridges. That's what you're going to want to use for small flowers like this. One day we'll probably make some hydrangeas, which are tedious but fun. And we just want to put that pressure there to give it veining without it being larger than the flower itself. Do it on both sides. And now I'm going to take that center I have finished, a little bit of glue just down the middle, and right here I'm going to press that center right to the base, pinch it up around my flower, and pull it in. Once it's pinched and I feel it's glued, I'm going to hang it upside down. Now you can have them closed and you can have some open. My recommendation is when you make your flowers, vary how open or closed they may be. That gives it much more of a natural look. And once that's done, I can also, if I feel like I need a little bit more motion there, I can take my tool and just curl my sides back a little bit so it looks like it's opening up. And then pinch it just a little bit more closed. Now I'm going to hang that up. And I have to let that dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to go to the next flower. So now I'm ready to do the outer petal. On this one, I want to make sure that I curl my top back. And because the sugar's thin, you want to do that early to keep them from cracking. You can also take it like this to give it much more distinct curl and make it stay back a little further. And that's something we'll do with other flowers, but it'll, because of the gums, it'll roll on you just a bit. That's all you want, is just a little bit of a pull back like that. I'm going to take the same petal we just did. It should have dried sufficiently by now. A little glue, and lay it down, and put your other piece right on top. And it also helps because then you can see, oh, I might need just a little bit more glue. Do not glue all the way up, because it's going to almost be like a cape, and it's got to pull back. So just like that, you gather it underneath, pull it slightly towards the flower, press it up. Then you can take a skewer, or I have a brush here, and pull back the sides so it curls away from the plant a little bit, because they're very open. And then once that's done, turn it, hang it back upside down. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the blue flower. I have a little glitch there. I'm just going to take these small scissors and cut that off. Press a little pressure to eliminate that ridge, and that's something you can do when you have a slight tear. That hangs up to dry. Now we're just going to let those dry for about a half an hour, and then we'll put the finishing touch on them. So now we're ready to finish the sweet peas, and I'm using a little bit of a green paste. So I had a dark green and a light green, and both of them were not quite the color, so I just took a piece of each and mixed them together to get a nice stem colored green for myself. So for this, it's not a lot of sugar paste necessary. Just as usual, we're going to warm it up. I'm going to roll it out. And once I have it, that's about as thick as I need it. I'm going to use that one cutter I talked to you about, that plastic cutter. You have to be careful with plastic cutters. They don't always stay sharp, so sometimes you may have to take an emery board to them. This one's a little hard to get to, so I'm just going to pull down on it and try and make sure that I can get as clean a cut as possible. And you can see right through there, it's got a little bit of a ridge, so I'll take my tool and just press through there so that when I push it out, it comes out as clean as possible. I'm going to use the other side of my ball tool, and I'm going to drop it right onto my mat like that. Now I'll make a couple of these, so in making a couple, I'll put them to the side to dry. Where I see there might be a little bit of sugar paste there, I'm going to take those small manicure scissors and just cut those little pieces out. They don't look like much now, but when you go to stretch your sugar paste, if they're still there, they have a make it look a little ragged. So I'll cut those out, and then once they're cut, I'm going to put this underneath, keep it moist, and I'll cut just a couple more. So now we're going to put the last touch. We've cut it, we've let them rest just a little bit, cut all that we need for all of our sweet peas. Now I want to stretch it. So I've got a small little piece here, so I'm going to use the small ball tool. In the center, I'll just elongate a little bit or round it out a little bit. And then from the stems or those little arms, I'm just going to stretch it straight out. It's going to fatten it slightly, but that's okay. And now once you've done that, you can, if you want to, take it and pinch the edge so that it has a little bit of a sharp point to it. That's a detail that you may or may not want to do because it's going to be on the base of the flower. You may not notice it. It's not necessary, but it's one of those things you can do. Once done, I'm then going to take a little glue right into the center. And I'm going to take the sweet peas that I made earlier and that have dried, and I'm just going to put it right in the center, lift it up, let it thread all the way down, and now I'm covering that base of where my flower was put together. And that's the finishing touch for your sweet pea. I'll hang that up to dry. I'll do the same thing for the blue one. So now we're going to color our flowers. Anytime we make them, we need to put some color in it. Now the whole purpose of having put all of that impression is to help, and the veining that we did is to help bring up the impressions in color. So I have my brushes, and I use my brushes over and over again. You can have a towel there to wipe off the color in between. As usual, I'm going to take a little bit of my cornstarch over here and mix it with this purple because I don't need it to be too vibrant. And I'm going to start to brush onto my flower. And the amount of pigment you put in there can help pull out the color in the paste, deepen it, and depending on what you're doing, you can also, if you want it to be more of a fantasy, you can put some shimmer in there with the luster dust. Now I'm also going to use a little bit of green because when we look at our sweet peas, we will see that there is some green on there. So I'll use just a little green. I'm going to use it at the base and bring it up the plant slightly. Now I went ahead and I taped these. And if you're not sure about taping, you can look at some of the other videos we have that talk about how to tape. And one that gives you very good instruction would be on the tulips. So I want just a little green, and I can put a little green just on the inside. Because when you look at your flowers, you'll see that they're not perfectly one color or another. I said that before about it. And just a little touch of yellow. To give it more of a natural look. So I'm going to do that for all of my flowers. If you want to have your sweet peas have a little bit like they've been dew-kissed, you can use a luster dust. It's got a little bit of a luster in there, and there's something called a super pearl, which will just give it this iridescent look, and that's something you can add. So now that I have colored all of my flowers, I just want to assemble them. So I want them to look a little natural. So I'm going to do just two right now with a bud so that you can see what it should be done. So I have I'm going to start with my main flower. I've already taped part of my stem because my sweet peas kind of grow on one stem and have offshoots. So I'll get that started. And then I'm going to take my next sweet pea. I want to bring it down just a little bit. And you can always adjust it. You can look at the blossoms. You don't want them necessarily too close because you don't want them to hit each other. But you do want to have a little bit of room so that you can manipulate them. So So I'll start them together, and then I'll pull one head around and to the side. So I have a short wire here, and I may want to extend it. So I have another wire I can put as a base. I can put it right inside as I'm beginning to put my flowers together and wrap that, and that way I can continue making a whole long line of sweet peas. So I'm going to add my buds as I go. I'm going to pull these a little closer to me. They have a tendency to get very fragile, so try and work. You can even put a dry towel here, so if they should fall, they don't shatter on you. So we're going to alternate them, one on one side, one on another, and you can see I didn't have to worry about taping all the way down on any of my flowers because I know I'm going to be taping them again. I just want it where it's going to show. And you can make your spray as long as you'd like. And then once you've done that, cover the whole thing over. And then we're going to make some tendrils for it. It's as long as I need it to be, so I'm going to cut that right there. And now I'm going to make some tendrils. And tendrils only require that you have a little bit of tape like this. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to start to twist it. I'm going to leave a little bit of it open because I want to decide where I'm going to apply it. And I can apply it low or high, wherever I'd like. I'm going to apply this one just a little bit higher. Make sure that it sticks. And bring it up the stem a little bit. And then I'm going to take a pen, a skewer, in this case a brush. I'm going to twist it and turn it very closely and then pull it out, and then I have a tendril. And I can add those wherever I'd like on any of my flowers. So I'm going to do the same thing with all of them to create all of my sweet peas in whatever formation I want. Now for some of them you can have just your blossoms, and then I'm going to lay these down, I don't want them to break. And then for others you can have a blossom and a bud. You can put those together as well and put it along with your tendril, and then you have a variety for your flowers, and it looks more natural. Not everything is just flower, flower, flower. Having some buds there actually adds a little flavor and a little nice design. I'm going to put these a little close together so it changes it up just a bit. And then I'm going to use this to be my tendril. And right from the base, I'll start to twist it. So that shows you two ways that you can do it. If you haven't added it or you didn't think about it, you can always go back and add it, or you can do it as you're going along. Just make it as tight as you possibly can. It should have some texture to it, but it shouldn't look like a twisted piece of tape. Get to the end, and if it's too much, I'm going to just trim that off just a little bit. And then again, wrap it around. Make it tight. Pull it out, and then you stretch it however you want it to be. So there we have our sweet peas. I hope you'll join us next class when we're going to be making roses.